With the passing of your mother, just got through serving 38 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. How are you able to process all that mentally?
Well, you know, I understand everything. There's one thing that everybody promises in life, and that's death. With that, you know, I've seen many deaths in prison, you know, and I attribute that with me on understanding what I have to do now with the passing of my mother, you know. I don't let it affect me to the point where it becomes a negative thoughts or negative action on my part, you know. I understand I got nieces and nephews that look up to me, that need me now. My sister and them need me, so me being the backbone of the family, so I gotta step up and be stronger, you know, and can't let them see me at my weakness, you know. So with that, you know, I just stay positive, you know, and I try to think about it every night, you know. I look at my phone and see my mother, you know.
What's good, YouTube? Once again, it's your boy OG Hollywood coming back at you with another edition of the Ferguson Chronicle. Bringing it to you live from the day room to the streets, and in this case, bringing it to the backyard. Today, I'm about to interview an individual by the name of Uncle Sam Slaughter. Sam Slaughter did 38 years in the Department of Criminal Justice. He's only been free for 2 months. Sam Slaughter is here today to tell his story and his struggle since he's been set free to society after 38 years. However, but before I get started, I always have to tell you a little bit about me. Did 25 years locked up in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. Stayed 10 years on that Ferguson unit. Did a lot of in and outs down those hallways. Met a lot of guys. And in my 25 years, Uncle Sam Slaughter is a guy that I met. Like always, bring it to the live. From the day room to the living room, in this case, to the backyard. So without further ado, let's get at Mr. Sam Slaughter, please. What's good, Sam?
Oh, I'm doing just fine, hanging in there.
Oh, man, you know, last time I was over here, man, we did a couple of interviews, man. We went into a couple of interviews, man, and I'm just checking back in on you, man, to see how that turned out.
I went to a job interview with hopes up, you know. I even got a chance to tour the place, you know. So unfortunately, they picked over me and picked somebody else, you know, 'cause I never received a call from them.
So, did that discourage you from looking for another job?
Oh no, that didn't discourage me. It just made me look even harder, you know. Since then, I done had about 4 or 5 more interviews, you know. That's unfortunate. They overlooking me so far. So I ain't gonna stop. It ain't gonna disturb me to continue to look at, you know, 'cause I keep on looking until I get one.
So, man, I know, like I said last time, man, I was over here, man, I checked in with you, man, and I did a follow-up interview on you, man. Since the last time I've been here, man, it was a couple of endeavors that happened in your life, man, and you know, it didn't have nothing to do with you getting free, man. So let me ask you this, man. So if you don't mind, man, tell the viewers, man, what are some of the struggles you faced since you've been free, man, after 38 years?
Well, I had a struggle, you know, for getting a job, you know. The GPS money that I'm on, it hindered my progress from moving around, you know. It stopped my movement of what I really want to do, be able to get up in the morning, get in the car, and go look for a job. But I can't do that because with this GPS, it comes with a schedule, you know. If I don't have these job address and phone numbers on the schedule, I can't go to them. So what I did, I done went on the internet and do it on the phone. So every other day, I get a job offer, you know, to do an interview. So with that, I write my parole officer, or I call her or text her, you know. She'll text back, you know, and let me know I can go. And I have a window, you know. What is a window is, if I got an interview at 4:20 she'll open up the window from like 3:30 to 7, something like that. Give me enough time to get there, however long it takes, and give me enough time to get back, you know.
So let me ask this, man. I know, this might be a little bit uneasy for you to answer, man, but at the same time, man, it can be comforting too, man, because it's one thing in life that we all promise, man, that's death, man. And before I ask these questions, this one particular question, man, I like to give you my condolences, man, for that in which what happened in your life, man. But if you don't mind, man, I'd like to explain to the viewers, man, because Uncle Sam Slaughter matters to us, man, at the Ferguson Chronicle, first and foremost. So if you don't mind, tell the viewers, man, about the tragic incident that happened in your life a few days ago, man, after 38 years, man.
Yeah, my queen, was my mother, the woman that held me the high standard, kept my spirit up, kept my motivation up, to get out of prison, And with my mother passed in February the 5th, it tore down the family, in many ways, But as the story would go, it also built us back up, to hold each other responsible, to have each other back, being my brother, being my sister, and the pledge that we bonded together when we was kids, we always have each other back, hoping that mama never would pass, But I've been out 2 months, I got a chance to take care of my mother like she took care of me when I was a little kid. I was able to get some of that back, When I moved back in, getting out of prison, I took care of my mother, So I picked her up, take her to the restroom, clean her up or whatever I had to do. I did it, because she did me when I was a little kid, So one day I was sitting in my room, and my sister called me on the phone. So I picked up the phone and said, yo, what's going on? Man, mama need to go to the hospital. Something wrong with her breathing, So I get up and get out of my room and go see what's going on. My mama sitting in the living room laughing and playing around, like it ain't nothing. So we wheel out to the car, put her in the car. She laughing and everything, So I put the seatbelt on and everything. So as my sister bagging up out the driveway, not knowing because I'm walking back in the house, that my mother slumped over soon I closed the door. And by the time my sister made it to the hospital, my mother had passed, So with that, my mother died in my sister's arms, February the 5th. And we had her wake February the 11th, and the service was February the 12th. Her wish was to be cremated, like my oldest brother. So that's a hard pill to swallow for anybody, But my most important thing was she didn't die while I was still incarcerated. I was able to get out because back in 1995, me and my brother was on the Hughes unit together, and she had a mild heart attack, and she came down there and told me and my brother all her wishes was for me and my brother to make it out of this prison before she passed, And so that was about 25, 30 years if you add it up, from 95. So me and my brother did 37 years, I did 38. We both made it out of prison. My brother been out 2 years now. I've been out 2 months. With the passing of my mother, that tore the family down, but we building it back up, So I just have me and my sister here now, My other brother, he with his girlfriend, So everybody stand strong, everybody stand positive, everybody helping us,
So, man, let me ask you this, Sam. So, with the passing of your mother, just got through serving 38 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. How are you able to process all that mentally?
Well, I understand everything. There's one thing that everybody promises in life, and that's death. With that, I've seen many deaths in prison, and I attribute that with me on understanding what I have to do now with the passing of my mother, I don't let it affect me to the point where it becomes a negative thoughts or negative action on my part, I understand I got nieces and nephews that look up to me, that need me now. My sister them need me, so me being the backbone of the family, so I gotta step up and be stronger, you know, and can't let them see me at my weakness, you know. So with that, you know, I just stay positive, you know, and I try to think about it every night, you know. I look at my phone and see my mother, you know.
So let me ask this, man. So how did you even make it back to society after 38 years and going through what you went through in prison, surrounded by nothing but violence every day? How did you even make it back?
To be honest, I had told my brother when he got blessed and got out and went to prison, like I told him, I said, man, I don't think I'll ever make it out of prison. All I ask you to do that, make sure I keep money on my books, and I'm gonna I guarantee that I keep my situation the way I want it, you know. And that's what I did, you know. I kept my situation good, you know, and kept it where I can survive, you know, where I didn't have to look for nothing, you know. So with my brother supporting me out here and with me doing the things I had to do to make sure my situation was more comfortable, you know, I was content with never getting out of prison, you know, until one day I got a lay-in, and I didn't even know what the lay-in was for because, excuse me, it didn't have parole on there. It just said administrator, you know, so I was at work. So they came and looking for me. So he said, man, them people been looking for you for 3-4 years. I mean, 3-4 days. I mean, damn, 3-4 hours, you know. So I say, who? They say, they don't know who it is. So I go back and clean it up. The SARS come, they got slaughtered, they looking for you. I said, who? He said, man, them people been looking for you 3-4 hours. So I asked him, let me be released from my job and go to one building. I go up there. The lady said, man, they people been looking for you 3-4 hours. I said, who? She said, parole, but they gone. But they gave me a piece of paper. They wanted me to send it to you through the mail. So she went back there and got it out the mail room and brought it and gave it to me. So I folded up, which it was already folded. So I just stuck it in my pocket. I said, oh, it ain't nothing but another year set off. So I ain't tripping. So I walk out the door. I'm walking down the hallway. Something that tell me, man, open up that paper. So I open up the paper and it's highlighted. I've been granted to make parole. I down there fell to my knees and passed out. You know, so I told everybody, man, I done made parole. Everybody know how I used to be, you know. But nobody believed in me because I didn't believe it, you know. I ever made parole. So as I went, I kept telling everybody, man, I made parole. Nobody didn't ever believe it. 4 days later, I was gone.
As we sit here at Uncle Slim Slaughter's house, how does it feel to be able to sit in the backyard after 38 years?
Ooh, it feels good. It's just like sitting on a wreck, y'all, but this is more peaceful, you know. I'm back here by myself, you know, all the time. Every day I make it my business to come out here and sit down in a chair and just look up at the sky, you know, just look around at the trees, look at the birds, look at the little fruit dogs next door a couple of times, and I just sit back and enjoy myself because I wouldn't trade this feeling for nothing in the world.
Let's go forward to when you first entered your home. What did that feel like?
Ooh, when I first walked in, I first got out the car, I walked in the front door, and my mother was sitting there, and with the smile she put on her face told me everything, you know. And with the smile I put on my face in return, told her I was happy to be home. I kept my promise because back then me and my brother made a promise that we'll make parole for our mother's sake, you know, and we did. And I hugged and kissed my mama and told her I kept my promise.
So let's talk about, man, how hard was it for you to even break free from the Texas Department of Criminal Justice?
Ooh, it was hard after 38 years, and I'm thinking that, man, these people ain't gonna never let me out of here. I was doing, but that was about my 11th or 10th set off, which was a year. So the year set off go by quicker because it ain't nothing but a year. I think I was on my 10th or the 11th, and I just gave up by making parole, you know, but I ain't never give up on life. I just gave up making parole, so I done made my situation better, you know, because I never thought I got out. But once I released, ooh, that was a feeling that I can't even describe.
So, man, let me ask this, man. During your stay at the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, man, what was the violence like?
When I first got there, it was nothing but a bunch of riots, bunch of fights, you know, because when I first went to prison, whites and Mexicans didn't have no say so. So they sit in the back of the day room. It wasn't no such thing. You gonna see no white or no Mexican in the front of on the bench, turning the TV. That was unheard of. So as the time went, I say about the last part of '84, that's when the violence started popping up, you know. Certain whites, certain Mexicans was working for the administration, you know. So at this time, you know, the administration's already racist, you know. So they started paying the inmates with commissary, getting out radios, stingers, and whatever type of value we had as an inmate, you know. They were getting it to them to kill or stab black inmates, and that's what they was doing, you know. So back then, you know, all us, we banded together as brothers, you know. I'm talking about that being black, you know. I didn't know nothing about the struggle, you know. I didn't know nothing about gangs or families or organizations, you know.
So let me ask this. So you said they was a part of the administration, whites, naming who?
The Avenue Brotherhood, the Texas Mafia, and a few Mexicans that wasn't a part of nothing, you know. Some of them were TS's, some of them were Mexican Mafia, but there very few Mexican Mafia participated in it, you know, because we had made a bond with them on Retrieve back in '85 when the leaders of the Mexican Mafia almost got killed. When Larry Twine and D-Dan Comite went to their rescue and helped them and saved them, you know. What I mean by saving them, they gave them knives to where they can defend themselves while they was back there in solitary. So a lot of people don't know the Mexican Mafia and the Mandingo Warrior was like allies, you know, back in the '80s, you know. Whatever we needed, they did it for us, you know. Whatever they needed, we did it for them, you know, as family to family, you know. So there was a lot of killing back then.
So let me ask you this, Sam. So back then, were there gangs in prison?
No, there wasn't no gangs back then, you know. But as the time went, everybody started popping up in like in the late '84, early '85. You had Texas Mafia. You had Texas Syndicate. You had Mexican Mafia for the Mexicans. You had Avenue Brotherhood and the Texas Mafia for the whites. You had the Self-Defense Family and the Mandingo Warriors for the blacks. So as the time went, everybody went to war, you know. The Mandingo Warrior and Self-Defense Family went to war with the Avenue Brotherhood and the Texas Mafia, you know. And our war lasted for 4 years, and between that 4 years, we lost 2 brothers. One on the side of the Self-Defense Family, one on the side of Mandingo Warrior.
Speaking of Mandingo Warriors, when was that established, and what was the reason why it was established?
It was established in 1983 in August. And the reason it was established because as the time went, we didn't have nobody to defend for us. We only had ourselves. And it was hard reaching the brothers that was down, you know, because as you know, we started off on one unit, which Mandingo Warrior started off on Ramsey 1. Self-Defense Family started on Retrieve unit. So as the time went, every time we got into like a communication or something, or ride or whatever, you know, we was shipped to other units. This is how we became the biggest that we became, because they were sending everybody all over the system, you know. And in them 4 years, our war lasted. We lost 2 people, like I said, you know. And in the war was declared a peace treaty in I say in '88, but it still had a little ticks and tacks, you know, as along the way.
So what was your position in the Mandingo Warriors?
I was a foot soldier. That's the only thing I wanted, to be a foot soldier. I wanted to be a foot soldier because I understood foot soldier had all the action, you know. I was on the front line. I love being on the front line, stabbing, hitting people with stuff, or fighting, or whatever it took, you know, to win, you know. That's what I did.
During your time as a foot soldier, how many stabbings did you participate in? And explain to the viewers, if you can explain to the viewers your worst stabbing as a foot soldier.
Woo! I don't know. My worst stabbing was against the law, you know. It was against an officer, you know. And I think that was the worstest one because I stabbed him 9 times. I participated in a lot of stabbing against whites and Mexicans, you know. I even stabbed a black before because he was against us, you know, telling the whites and the Mexicans what we was up to or what we planning on doing and when we were planning on doing. So we had to smash on him just for that. But my worst stabbing came against an officer, you know. In 1993, on May the 24th, he jumped on my brother. We was all on the rec yard, and they closed the unit down, and all the officers running. As everybody came to the fence, my brother came out. So he had told me this officer had jumped on him. So later on that night, I waited on the officer to do count time. And back then, you know, the doors stayed open. So I went to all the gang leaders, you know, had them to close the doors and shit. Have his people close the door. I had mine close the door. And when the officer came in, I was hiding on the other side of the wall. So when he came out, I started stabbing him. So when the laws came, I had to jump off of him because it was the laws stormed the day rooms. I ran up on 2 row, about 3 or 4 of my homeboys. We barricaded the stairs so they couldn't get up there.
So did you kill him?
No, I didn't kill him. I stabbed him 9 times.
Did you ever see that officer again?
Yes, I seen him again I say anywhere between about 7 or 8 months later. One of the old racist sergeants brought him back there to us. We was in administrative segregation. He came through there walking around. So I was at my door when he came to my door. You know, he tried to talk. I said, I don't want to talk to you. I said, I wish I would have killed your ass. But so he just walked on off. But I say about 3 or 4 months later, I get word from a couple of my people, you know, they saying, man, the officer named Kennedy said, let's leave bygone, let's leave it in the past. So, and as I read the kite, they were telling me, yeah, he worked for us now. So this the same officer that started bringing in drugs to us, you know. So we let bygone, you know.
So let me ask this. So during your time in prison, what was the rival gang that the Mandingo Warriors got into it with all the time?
Oh, we got into it with the Avenue Brotherhood, you know. That's a white racist group, you know. So they was against blacks. They didn't like blacks. They didn't talk to blacks. They seen any of their members talking to black, they was guaranteed for a whooping or a stabbing, if not a killing, you know. But if they participated so much of a conversation with it, you know, they were guaranteed to get killed. Sometimes they'll write us kites and tell us to be standing at the door because they feel kill one of theirs, or we'll be already at the door because we already know what's going on. Back then, you know, the rec yard was so small, it was right in front of everybody's cell, you know, so we just standing at the door and witness them killing one of theirs, you know.
So speaking of rec yard, what was it like to just even walk on the rec yard? Was it a lot of tension, a lot of violence? What was it like?
Oh, it was a lot of violence back then, you know, because, you know, they had groups, you know, whatever group you was a part of, that's who you wreck with, you know. It wasn't no interracial, you know, because they already knew everybody was at war. So they had a bunch of cages out there. You'll have TS's in one, Mexican Mafia's in one, Mandingo Warrior and Self-Defense in one, having the Brotherhood in one. Then you'll have people clambering the fence, jumping over to the other cages, trying to stab somebody or getting jumped on, fighting and stuff like that. So it was going on.
So everybody was segregated. Well, that was the time that you spent in SEG?
Yes.
So what about the time that you didn't spend in SEG? How was the rec yard then?
Oh, the rec yard back then, you know, it was good. You know, everybody was out there on the rec yard, but they very sudden called rec back then, you know, because of the racist tension that was in the air. So it wasn't too much going outside or nothing, you know. When you did, you stayed out there a couple of hours, you know. Everybody got along, you know. But once the war stopped, you know, it was good for everybody to go outside because after that, at the time when everybody started socializing, with everybody, you know.
So let me ask this. So every day, Uncle Sam Slaughter woke up with his knife every day.
Say that again?
I said, on every day when you was in general population in the 80s, Uncle Sam Slaughter woke up with his knife every day.
Oh yeah, that was mandatory. Everybody that was a killer, everybody was a soldier, carried a knife. I carried 2 of them. So everywhere I went, I had 2 knives. Cause you got to understand, back then, the officer wasn't shaking down nobody. You walk up and down the hallway all day with a knife. You can go to the shower and wrap your knife up in your towel roll. They wasn't shaking down back then, you know. They wasn't even really even thinking about it because they just happy that we wasn't stabbing and killing them, you know. So they really stayed out the way. So back then, you know, when you went in the shower, you didn't ever see no officer unless he was just opening and closing the door. Other than that, he was out the way. When you go up in that shower, you got about 200 or 300 inmates up in there. And I'm quite sure over half had knives.
What was it like to go back to the chow hall, back then?
Oh, back then, you know, when I first came to prison, you know, everything you ate is what you cooked up in what you planted in that field, that whole sward. You ate your potatoes, your vegetables, all that came from the fields, you know. So back then, the food was trash, you know, because not a lot of inmates didn't take time to clean it, you know. So you eating rocks, you cramping down on mud, dirt. So a lot of time I didn't ever eat it, you know. I just ate the main course and kept on going, you know. I didn't eat it.
What was it like to go to the fields?
Oh no, I didn't. The field was, whoo, you came back in, you were guaranteed to go to sleep because they worked the hell out of you. You wasn't coming in until you met your quote. If you had to go out there and pick cotton, that bag was gonna be filled before you came back in, unless you done took somebody else's bag. But you wasn't coming in until you had met your quote. And I guarantee you, when you came in from them fields, everybody went to sleep.
What was your worst memories in that field?
Let me see. I seen a lot of fighting. I seen people get hit in the head with the Aggies. I done seen all type of stuff, you know. I think my most memory was when I seen an inmate try to escape that took off running and the guard shot him in the back.
Did he kill him?
Yes, that inmate did die.
What are some of those things out of 38 years that you brought back to society, man?
My positive thinking, I brought that back with me. Positive thinking. Something I always said, don't never say you can't do it. Always try. So now I always try instead of saying I can't do it or I don't want to do it. I at least try now. So with that, you know, I came back with a lot of positive thoughts, positive attitude, and everything I'm doing is positive.
So out of all those brothers you met in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice that was part of the Mandingo Warriors, do you still communicate with those brothers?
Oh yeah, I still communicate with a lot of them, the ones at the top, you know, because I communicate with the ones at the top because whatever I tell them or whatever I do them, they'll pass it down to them, you know. So I made a bond when I got out. A lot of those brothers that had my back when I didn't even know nothing about the struggle, we still good friends to the day. 38 years later, we still best of friends. To this day, I've been out 2.5 months. I write each one of them every week. I haven't missed a week yet. So I still write them.
So how long some of those brothers been incarcerated?
Most of them, the ones I've been writing, been down for over 30 years. The longest, I got a good friend I look up like a father figure named Larry Twine. He been there for 53 years. And I mean 53 day for day. He was on death row. He come off of death row back in '72 for killing a police officer in Waco, Texas. You know, he a good friend of mine today. His name Larry Twine on the Justice 3 unit.
So was Larry Twine a part of the Mandingo Warriors?
Yes, he was the leader of the self-defense family. And until he consolidated in 1988 on Micah's unit, he became the leader of the Mandingo Warrior as the time went.
So let me ask this. So if you had any advice to any individuals that are free and struggling, what would your advice be to them?
to think positive, you know, try to reach out to somebody that's willing to help. There's a lot of people out here willing to help you if you down on your luck. You got a lot of organizations, you know, you got Salvation Army, you got a lot of release centers around here. Go to them places and try to reach out to them and try to get the help that you need, because it ain't no such thing you sitting up under a bridge or sleeping in your car when you don't have to. You got a lot of people out here that'll help you. Reach out for the help. Stay strong, keep your head up and think positive, you know, because you do have a lot of people out here willing to help you.
Uncle Slam Slaughter, after doing 38 years, he's still positive, and most of all, he's free. So let me ask you this, Sam. So how important it is for Uncle Sam Slaughter to be telling his story today?
Oh, it's very important, you know, because there's a lot of people that have been to prison, a lot of people ain't never been to prison, you know, watching this video or might see the video, you know. And if I made it out of prison, you can do it as well. You know, you got a lot of people still down there thinking they'll never make it out of prison, which I thought the same, you know. But you see, the good Lord had a better plan for me, you know, and his plan was for me to walk up out of that prison without even my knowledge, you know. So I'm here today to tell you, you can do it as well.
So Sam, I'd like to give you the opportunity now at your home, even though your mother has passed, I'd like to give you the opportunity to tell her how much you appreciated her for staying down with you for 38 years.
Yeah, Mama, I'm gonna miss you a whole lot, you know. Like I told you, at your wake, I kissed you goodbye, and I kept my promise, and I told you I'd never go back to prison. I meant that. I talk to you every morning, every night, even in my sleep. I talk to you. You was the backbone of this family. You kept me and Lonnie in line. You kept our eyes on the prize, you know, even in prison when we didn't ever tell you. Many times, a lot of times we didn't tell you, but we always told each other. We made a promise to ourselves that we'll come home before you pass. I want you to know we both kept our promise, you know. And even though I got a chance to stay here 2 months before you pass, those memories I'll never forget. I love you, Mama.
Once again, Mr. Sam Slaughter giving you his struggles now that he's free. Real life people, real life story. Bringing it from the day room to the living room to the streets. Uncle Sam Slaughter speaks. That being said, Sam, I'll let you close this show on any note that you choose to.
Well, I wanted to let y'all know I made it out of prison. I plan on staying out. I'm gonna get me a job real soon. And you can't never say you can't stay out, because all you gotta do is participate in people that being positive, people that willing to hold your back, people that willing to help you along the way, because you got a lot of people out here helping me. And so it ain't no excuse why I'm out on the street selling drugs, or I'm out on the streets doing this and crying, because I never do that again, you know. And with me closing, I like to tell my mother, I'm watching her right now, and I love you, Mama.
Once again, bringing it live from the day room to the living room, and in this case, to the backyard. Ferguson Chronicle, OG Hollywood speaks. Salute.